Oh, finally, Scott gives his opinions on Mario Kart World, which is the same as everybody else's opinions. Yeah, I just kind of want to talk about Mario Kart World thus far, within the first month or so of its release. Because, I think it's interesting considering this game is definitely going to have a very long life in front of it. So I think it's kind of important to preserve my thoughts on it within its first month of existence, because it is expected and hopeful that this game will add a lot of stuff over the next coming years. And, by the end of it, we might have a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe situation on our hands, where Mario Kart 8 in 2014 compared to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in, 2024. It's like there's another 3 games worth of content in that game right there. And overall, Mario Kart World is what I have primarily been using my Nintendo Switch 2 for. So from that perspective, I gotta say, this is a pretty incredible launch title. Now, it is quite different from how Breath of the Wild was when the Nintendo Switch 1 launched, or even something like New Super Mario Bros. U on the Wii U, or Twilight Princess on the Wii. This right here, I honestly kind of equate a little more towards Wii Sports with the Wii. Now, this has a billion times more content than Wii Sports, but Mario Kart is definitely a game where, yeah, you can play it for 4 hours straight, but for the most part, I kind of find myself jumping in, playing like a knockout tour online, maybe dicking around with some other stuff in the game. But this game right here, it's not really a game that I find myself getting super lost in, like how I would with a traditional, very intensive single player game. That's not a bad thing, but as much as I played the Nintendo Switch 2, I feel like Mario Kart World being the tentpole title releasing with it almost makes it so then it doesn't really feel like I've been playing it as much as I was playing the Nintendo Switch 1 when that launched. But that was because I was playing this super extensive open world game for multiple hours a day. And 2 things with this. 1, I'm a lot busier now, and 2, Mario Kart is more of kind of a 30 minutes to an hour here and there kind of game. However, this being a launch title, I mean, how often does this kind of stuff happen anymore? I mean, look back to the PS5 launch. Yeah, we got Spider-Man Miles Morales. That was a pretty extensive, big-ass game at the launch of that system. But that was definitely kind of one of those standalone expansion type games. And it also came out on PS4. So, smaller game based on another game that recently came out. Still a huge title, but it's not very frequent at the launch of these systems anymore that we get a truly exclusive game that is going to be there and define the entirety of this console's generation. Mario Kart World is going to be there with the Nintendo Switch 2 till the day it dies. And I just think it's so impressive that they put out such a big game of such a wonderful quality with so much content at the launch of the Switch 2. Usually during these launches, we have to expect peanuts, and it feels like Nintendo has just really honed in on their development schedules. And I mean, it makes sense because we've been waiting for a new Mario Kart for 10 plus years, and it does feel like they took the amount of time that Mario Kart World was taking to release, and they just added so many fine details to this game. Now, I really appreciate that, but there are elements of that just kind of puzzle me. So we're not going with any structure. I'm just gonna talk about some weird stuff with Mario Kart World. I feel like they had so much time to just do a bunch of little things with this game, and I really love the amount of detail. However, I do feel like something that's really weird with Mario Kart World that I just can't shake the feeling of is it feels like the developers would have these really fun, cool, crazy ideas. And then they would be like, yeah, let's do that. And, it started at one point in development, and they just kept on moving on with it throughout development. And they kind of forgot to tie the knot with some of these ideas and really fully make everything make sense in the end, I guess. So for example, there's that new item in this game, the dash food, where, it appears throughout normally the routes in the game. You have your 30 main tracks, and then you have the routes between all of these different tracks, which pretty much adds up to hundreds of different routes. And the dash food, I believe, is only usually around in the routes, usually at those Yoshi drive-thrus. So when you pick up the dash food, you get this custom piece of Mario food. It looks like something that they would release as like a food item at like the Universal Studios Super Nintendo World locations. And the cynical part of me is almost like, they're like, what if they're designing these foods so then there's more like references for them to base food items off of so they can sell more stuff at the park. I don't know. It's still like really neat and really cute. Like they designed like so many different types, and like they're all Mario themed, but they're all kind of based around like, oh, the location you're in, and sort of equating that to like, okay, what type of food would be kind of a specialized item in this location. Just some really cool artistic stuff there. But then I have to ask, why? What does the dash food do? It gives you a boost. It's pretty much just like, it is a guaranteed like 1 mushroom boost of speed. It's like, okay, I mean, that's something, you know, and like I've definitely utilized the dash food here and there. You know, it is good to know like, okay, if I get that, I know I'm gonna get a speed boost. So, you know, you can definitely strategize with that. But then the dash food is also how you get different costumes for the main cast. And I'm like, this is all cool, but it just doesn't really feel like all these ideas are really like coming together fully. Like that's pretty much the extent of all of that. Like, okay, so that's how you unlock the costumes, is picking up food. And usually like the food is themed around the area you're in, and also the costume is themed around the area you're in. So that's something, you know, I guess they kind of wanted to convey the idea of like traveling and, you know, trying different foods and wearing stuff from the area you're in. You know, I understand that was what they were trying to convey, especially when all the general Mario Kart gameplay is occurring. They probably didn't want you to like, oh, like, I don't know, veer off your cart to a pit stop and get out of your car and go into a store to buy a costume or something like that. You know, they probably wanted it to be like, hey, you know, we want to convey a road trip feeling without you having to stop the general Mario Kart gameplay. But I feel like a lot of the ideas these developers had, while really good, I feel like they should have been reorganized to be in different parts of the game, specifically the free roam mode. So the free roam mode in Mario Kart World is kind of like your big new addition that really does showcase like, this is what this game is all about, the open world. You know, it's a big part of the title screen. You know, they show a character, you know, driving around in the open world on the title screen, and all you gotta do is hit the plus button, and then you're just immediately thrown into there. It is pretty cool. And definitely driving around the open world, you gotta be in the mood for it. But if you are, I think it can be a very fun, cool experience. But this open world is not on the same level as a lot of the best open world games out there. Now, does that mean Mario Kart World failed? No, you know, I think it's still like a very fun concept, and I do love the idea of Mario Kart being in this open world. You know, that's one of the coolest little Easter eggs from something like Mario Kart Double Dash. The fact that you could see different tracks from the track you're on, you know, like you could see Daisy Cruiser while you were on Peach Beach, or even going as far back to Mario Kart 64 on Royal Raceway, being able to veer off the path and check out Peach's castle. You know, things like that are just really cool. And just being able to drive around this entire world and just go all over the place with these tracks on areas that, you know, in previous Mario Kart games would initially be like an immediate like dead zone, like, hey, get the f off of this area. You're not allowed here. No, in Mario Kart World, like, it actively encourages you to go off the beaten path, to check out elements of this racetrack that aren't the racetrack. And that is such a cool feeling. And I also love how free roam mode has the P-switch mission. So mission mode for Mario Kart DS is back, and then some. There's like 394 missions in this game. Like, if you look at this mission mode and go like, this isn't as good as Mario Kart DS's. Yes, Mario Kart DS's had boss battles, but Mario Kart World's missions go all over the place. Yes, a lot of them are kind of like, hey, collect a bunch of blue coins. Okay, but that's acting like Mario Kart DS's mission mode didn't have stuff just like that. I mean, I got a mission that was based in Crown City where they literally spawn dinosaurs, and it's just like, all right, get to the end, avoid the dinosaurs, but also use them to your advantage. You know, like there are some dinosaurs where you have to like ride on top of them and trick off of them to get through a ring in time. Like, there is some really cool stuff here. But again, I kind of feel like a lot of this stuff just isn't really coming together because, okay, the missions are super cool and very cute in Mario Kart World. What do you get for them? You get stickers. You get a decal for your cart. These are absolutely fucking pointless. But again, they put so much damn effort into this stuff. There's literally like 1,000 decals in this game, and some of them have cute, cool graphic design to them. But you can only stick one onto your cart, and it's on the side of your cart, and you can never see it during normal gameplay. Why can't I stick multiple decals on my cart? You know, it could be kind of like a fun little return in essence of the emblem creator from Mario Kart DS. Or why not assign all of the different costumes that you unlock throughout the game to the P-Switch missions? Like, yeah, there's only a little over 100 costumes in the game, and there's like nearly 400 P-Switch missions. So it's like, you don't need to assign all the missions to costumes. Like, yeah, costumes can be a reward for like 1/4 of the missions, and then the other missions, they could give you the decals, but you know, why can't we just make the decals like do something actually? Or hell, why not assign cart unlocks to the free roam mode? Because you still unlock carts by collecting coins in the game, and I'm just going like, I don't care. You have this big ass new open world that you want everybody to explore, yet you're still having us unlock carts by collecting coins throughout the races. I just don't really feel like that makes as much sense anymore to do. And especially how you unlock a lot of the extra characters in the game, being the Kamek item has to be enabled during a race, and then you have to be affected by it, and then you have to randomly turn into a character that you haven't unlocked yet. Why? This makes no sense as to how you should be unlocking characters. Why not put the characters in the free roam mode? Why can't you just unlock them via the missions? It would give you that much more incentive to explore this world. But that also reminds me, the way you unlock the character costumes, you know, via the dash food, there is a total exploit to do that. You just go to the free roam mode, you go to a certain dash food in a certain area, you go through it as a certain character, and it's likely you will unlock the costume that you need. And then you just pause the game, change the character to another character that has a costume in that area, and then just reverse your cart and go right through the dash food again. And you can just do that until you unlock all the costumes. It's really not hard. In fact, like I said, I think it's more of an exploit. I think it's something the developers didn't really think through. A lot of stuff just feels like they went, that would be cool, and then they just kind of kept on working on it until the very end. But like I said, they just didn't really like finish things off. They didn't really like make everything kind of like make sense together. Still respect the hell out of like all the junk they crammed into this game, all the effort that went into it. Like graphically, detail-wise, this game is off the charts. But it just kind of ends up feeling like this is a game that was created by immensely talented people, and it's a wonderful game, but a handful of things just come off as half-baked, and it just kind of creates a weird experience. This is something that everybody's been complaining about recently. The online multiplayer, just playing regular races. When you want to play normal races online, very similarly to Mario Kart 8, they give you like 3 random track options, or you can select random track, and it might give you just whatever any other track it can come up with. Problem is, the routes in the game are part of the rotation. And here's the thing, the routes I think get a really bad rap, and I don't dislike the routes. I actually do quite like them in the right context. In the context of racing competitively, like especially when it comes to like a one-time race online, they don't work. You know, I think a big part of being competitive in Mario Kart is learning the tracks. You want to learn where all the different shortcuts are. You want to do 3 laps around. Like, that's a part of the whole thing. Learning it all, being competitive, but also like having the spontaneity of playing actual people online, you know, like it puts your skills to a test. The routes, firstly, nobody knows these track layouts. I mean, I think it's a stretch to call them track layouts, but you know, like, are you really going to learn the route from Cheep Cheep Falls to Wario Stadium? No, you're not going to learn that route. There's like 200 routes in the game, and they are routes. They're not tracks. So for the most part, like when you see a routes map, it is kind of just a straight line. Now, you know, like, I think enough goes on where it doesn't necessarily feel like a straight line. Watching gameplay, I think they look kind of boring. When you're actually playing it, you know, it feels like Mario Kart, you know, like, but they're obviously not the same as an actual track. And I think the routes are amazing in Knockout Tour. I think it's amazing to go down these routes when you're doing the free roam, just casually just exploring and enjoying the world that they crafted here. But being considered individual tracks online, it is ridiculous. Again, like, they're not tracks. I don't know these layouts. Why would I pick these tracks going like, oh, hot damn, I love the route from Peach Stadium to fucking DK Pass? No, I don't care. I don't know what any of these routes are. But you know what's also just a little unfortunate is the fact that I don't even know these tracks very well at this point because they keep shoving the routes down your throat. The Grand Prix is strange in Mario Kart World because the way they go about it is the first track you do is a standard 3-lap track. Then the next track you do, you have to go to that track. So the route is a part of the next track you do. And when you finally get to that track, you only do 1 lap around that and you're done. So honestly, for the most part, the tracks that left the biggest impression on me in Mario Kart World are often the ones that were the first track in their respective Grand Prix Cups. Any tracks that followed, like, I don't really remember them very well. So I really do hope they adjust things later down the line. I understand why they did that, you know, in the Grand Prix, you know. I think the idea of like, oh, you drive to the next track is awesome. I think that's really fun. But I think they didn't want to like make the Grand Prix go on too long. But I'm kind of like, man, this game is fun. I don't mind playing it longer. So it's just like, if the route's a part of the Grand Prix, and then when I make it to the next track, I do a standard 3 laps, I think I'd be fine with that. Honestly, I want an excuse to play the actual tracks in this game far more, because honestly, they haven't left much of an impression on me. There are some great tracks in this game, but the way the game presents them, it's kind of hard for them to leave much of an impact. Though I will say, I think comparing the base tracks in this game to Mario Kart 8, I'd say Mario Kart 8 was more consistently great. I'd say Mario Kart World's tracks have higher highs but lower lows. And when I say a track has low lows in Mario Kart, keep in mind, the track is still good. Like, it's still a good track to race on. But I do feel like, you know, Mario Kart World's track lineup is a little like, a couple of them are a little kind of like, you know, that was kind of mediocre, kind of forgettable. But you know what's honestly not that forgettable is the feeling some of these routes give you. I know I keep going back and forth. I'm like, fuck the routes. And I'm like, this is what's cool about the routes. I love the feeling in the routes where you are in a completely different location. And as you're driving, it's almost like it happens without you noticing. It's like this seamless transition into the next area or the next track. And I love what they did with the music here, where when you start getting closer to a certain track, there is a unique piece of music they composed for this, where it has like little elements from the music of the track you're going to. And it pumps me up so much, especially as like the terrain around me starts to slowly transform. And I'm like, wait a second, like I'm starting to enter like Toad's Factory or something. And the music of the Toad's Factory route, like you have like the beat from Toad's Factory like start to play. And it kind of just pumps me up. It's just like, oh shit. Here it comes. It's just really cool. Like, a lot of stuff in this game is just really cool. I think, unfortunately, just it has a couple of weird things, like I mentioned. And none of these things are, like, really, like, deal breakers for me. I do genuinely think this game is fantastic. It's just a lot of the things they did in this game are just so damn weird. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get what they were going for with a lot of things. But in the end, I think it kind of makes this game, honestly, a little more interesting to talk about, because it's like, yeah, like, it's like, what the hell is up with that? At the same time, holy freaking God, this game is awesome. Graphically, I think this game is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, like, it's mostly down to, I think, the level of detail and the animation. The animations of the characters and the world and the carts and all of that stuff, they're just phenomenal. I think the character models had this huge upgrade where like it made me realize how kind of crappy some of the character models in Mario Kart 8 look. I think Mario Kart 8 is still a beautiful looking game, especially, you know, in the context of like it released in 2014 on the Wii U. But Mario Kart World, I just feel like is so much more refined in very subtle ways at times, but all those ways add up. And when I look at this game, I'm just always just looking at it going like, man, this is just such a talented piece of art. Even subtle things like the characters dancing on the character select screen, it's just so charming and it's just so cool. And just the environments, man. So one thing that they changed in this game was you no longer go underwater like you did in Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart 8. Instead, your cart transforms into a boat. And man, the water effects look gorgeous, especially like when you're going into like Wario Shipyard in the game. The crashing waves and stuff. Oh my God, like I'm just like absolutely just dumbfounded whenever I play that area. Like I'm like, this looks awesome, especially with the fact that now, you know, like with crashing waves, you can like trick off of them and everything. And I honestly do think like that's way more interesting gameplay wise than the underwater sections were in the previous games. I never minded the underwater sections, but I do think they were more of kind of an excuse to create more like interesting like track designs, I guess. Like, oh, like wouldn't it be cool if you could go underwater and that would just give more variety to the course, I guess. This one actually kind of affects the gameplay and involves skill, and you can actually take advantage of being on the water. I mean, you could kind of do that with the underwater sections. You know, the physics were floatier, and, you know, they introduced things where like, oh, there's like bubbles jetting out here, and you can maybe like get some air with that or something. But I just really do like what they're doing with the water portions of Mario Kart World. Ugh, okay. But before I get too far, I just want to mention this. I want to mention somebody who paid us to say this.
Have you ever been this hungry? Well, to combat that, the masterminds at Factor came up with this. Factor, the sponsor of this video, who's paying us to say all of this. But believe me, I would say this even if I wasn't being paid. This is good. Factor supplies you with fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your doorstep. Using their service helps me stay on task by eliminating the hassle of prepping, cooking, cleaning up, or God forbid, ordering delivery again. Simply heat up the meal and you've got restaurant-quality food almost instantaneously. Plus, Factor offers snack options, breakfast, smoothies, juices, small bites, and so much more to help fuel my next endeavor, which just so happens to be coordinating my next order of Factor meals. No joke, I do use Factor. They genuinely help me not resort to bad nutritional choices, and for that, thank you. Paying me is just a bonus. I would show you their gourmet plus options like the truffle butter filet mignon, but I ate it. My genuine love for Factor ruined the ad, where I'm paid to say I love Factor. What is this, poetry or something? Head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use the code 50STASH to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50STASH at Factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
All right, yeah, good for us. We got sponsored. Anyways, I want to circle back to talking about the tracks in Mario Kart World, the tracks themselves, because like I said, compared to Mario Kart 8, I feel like the tracks in this game have higher highs, yet lower lows. I mean, like, high highs, I mean, like, look at something like Rainbow Road in this game. My lord. Definitely not the most replayable track. I feel like Rainbow Road in Mario Kart World is definitely meant to be more so a celebration, you know, the fact that you made it to the end of the game, or the end of the tracks in the game, rather than like, oh, a test of your skill, because it's definitely one of the easiest Rainbow Roads. But the spectacle of it all, and just the fact that they made it just so obscenely long, and they made it a sectioned race course where every section is kind of doing its own thing, and many of them you can tell are references to previous Rainbow Roads. Just makes for an experience that, I don't know, it just kind of channels this sense of like childlike wonder in me whenever I experience it. I'm like, man, this is just so cool. And tracks like DK Spaceport, that is a really, really fun track. You know, the fact that it really goes for that Donkey Kong arcade aesthetic, but it does something very unique with it. It doesn't just feel like it's just one big Donkey Kong arcade reference. You know, it feels like they tried to reference it while also making it make sense in the world they built, you know, turning it into like an industrial kind of like area. I know, man, I know it's a little generic, but I really like Crown City, especially like the first track of Crown City. Firstly, love the music of Crown City. Oh my God, that background music, like ever since I heard it when this game was initially shown off, like, oh my, I've been in love with it. But I just think it is such a cool feeling city-based course. I love going up through that like little construction area high up above the buildings and then flying around the city. Like, oh man, it's just neat, you know, like, oh, could it be themed a little more? Could it be a little more interesting? Sure, but I think like as it is, I do really enjoy it. But it's been a while since I've like whined too much, so here I go. I think the retro track selection in this game is kind of weak. You know, for the most part, it kind of just feels like they went for the retro tracks that haven't really been remade yet or haven't been remade in a very long time. You know, something like Desert Hills from the DS. Why even bother with that one? Same with DK Pass, like they're fine courses, and the Mario Kart World versions of these courses definitely do a lot more with them, but the actual layout of them I don't really find to be that compelling. Like they're just solid tracks, but compared to all the other tracks that they could have picked to put in this game, I'm just kind of left like kind of just like befuddled by some of the choices that they made. But then for some reason they double dipped on a couple of tracks that were already remade in Mario Kart 8 or were very recently remade via the Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Pass. So like the return of Moo Moo Meadows, I don't really understand that. I mean, like, I really do love Moo Moo Meadows. I love the music. I love the aesthetic. I love the vibe. Specifically Mario Kart 8's vibe. I love that whole, like, oh, it's right in the middle of, like, the sunrise, and just the music is so beautiful. It's such a wonderful little starter retro track in that game. And now it's back in Mario Kart World, even though they could have very easily remade, like, Moo Moo Farm from Mario Kart 64, because that hasn't been remade since Mario Kart DS. Or I've seen a lot of people suggest this, make an entirely new Moo Moo course, especially the fact that, like, they love pushing the fact that the cow is playable in the game. Then Choco Mountain is back, and that just got remade in the Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Pass. But that kind of brings up another thing about the retro tracks in this game. Many of the retro tracks are damn near unrecognizable from the original. Choco Mountain barely resembles Choco Mountain anymore. And you know what? I am totally okay with that. Of course, like Peach Beach barely resembles Peach Beach. Like, there is an element of Peach Beach during the first lap, and then they do kind of like that Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Pass thing that they start to do where the track just changes on each lap. Yeah, that one, it's a completely different course after that first lap. And that's pretty neat, you know, like whether it's better or worse than the original Peach Beach, I don't really care. I think it's interesting. It practically makes it so then all of these courses that are coming back from older games, many of them are just basically brand new tracks. Wario Stadium for Mario Kart 64. It is so cool that that got a remake in this game because it has been the only Mario Kart 64 track that has never been remade in a Mario Kart game. And it finally got remade, and it definitely got a huge upgrade. Like, that course was never anything that great. Like, it's iconic, but it's also like, you know, like, it's not a great track. And they actually really made it feel like this, like, dirt bike stadium kind of vibe with all this fire blowing up and all of this. It's so cool. And I love the remix that they did for that. You know, it's the exact same track, but they really emphasize the electric guitars there. Like, it still sounds like the Mario Kart 64, like, raceway theme, but they definitely gave it, like, a much-needed Wario vibe, and I really do like that. Also, Koopa Troopa Beach, the Super Nintendo course, I think that one is really neat, how they re-themed it as kind of like this EDM beach party kind of thing with like a DJ Koopa Troopa. I mean, like, that is such a unique and creative take on what to do with an old-ass Super Nintendo course that's beach-themed. I love it. I love what they did with that. You know, Toad's Factory being back is great too. Basically, no Mario Kart 8 courses are here, unless you want to count Sky High Sundae, which I've seen a lot of people theorize, which this makes total sense. That this track was made for Mario Kart World, and then they decided to take, like, a shitty version of it and put it in Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart Tour, because that track doesn't make any sense in those games. Like it's fine in those games, but even something like the railing in that being like this weird anti-gravity boost pad, like it doesn't make any sense. Like you clip through the railing, it feels unfinished. Now the course makes sense. Like it just does. It's a much better course. It makes sense in Mario Kart World, especially with all the parkour and kind of tricks you can do in the game. There's definitely some good stuff with the retro tracks in the game, but I do feel like the overall selection just feels a little like weird sometimes. I always felt like Mario Kart 8 had a very good overall selection in the base package of retro tracks. I felt like it had like a really solid balance of everything. This one, again, like I said, like I do feel like it just gives off the vibe that they were kind of picking the tracks that haven't been around in a while, which is fine, but also, like, if they're gonna bring back Moo Moo Meadows and Choco Mountain and all of that, I'm like, then why not just do that with other courses too? Like, why do we have Mario Circuit SNES? Which I'm at least happy they did something different with it. Like, oh, it's 3 Mario Circuits in one and it changes on each lap. That's something, but like, man, at that point, like, I just do a different damn Mario Circuit. Do Mario Circuit from 3DS, I don't know. Now, a lot of the new tracks are pretty solid, but I will say the biggest problem with the new tracks is, to me, a lot of them are kind of forgettable. And a lot of that's probably due to the way the game is structured. Like I said earlier, you know, the way the Grand Prix is structured, I don't really recall a lot of the actual tracks in the game. Everything kind of ends up blending in together because of this being all in one connected world. So when you actually play on a track in Grand Prix, half the time, I didn't even realize the track started. I was just focused on just driving, and then the route just gradually turns into the track, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm playing the track, and then the track is over because it's only one lap. Now, I've seen a lot of people get a little mixed about the character selection in Mario Kart World. And I'm going to be honest, I absolutely adore this character selection. Like, obviously, I do think comparing this to, like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and seeing, like, a lot of the main characters that are in that game that aren't in this, you know, obviously, like, yeah, it's kind of weird that you don't have your Diddy Kongs, you don't have the Koopalings, but it's also like, okay, we all bitched about the Koopalings for years. So now instead of 7 characters cut from the same cloth, now we have, like, a bunch of random-ass enemies, and I think that's kind of funny. A lot of these characters we haven't seen in Mario Kart yet, and all the characters have been redesigned from the ground up. They all look and move phenomenally, and all the main characters have a bunch of different costumes. Now, some of the costumes feel like they're kind of lopsided, like, okay, for some reason, Pauline and DK only have 1 costume each. For some reason, you bring back all 5 of the baby characters, and they all have a bunch of costumes. And then, oh my god, the character select screen. I still don't understand the point of this damn thing. It's always unorganized. I don't know where the hell anything is. Obviously, I think the fact that it's unorganized makes it so then I might be more likely to just pick more random characters sometimes. Like, my go-to character in this game has consistently been Nabbit. I like playing as Nabbit in this game, but as I scroll past like 500 fucking character slots to get to Nabbit, I might see somebody that I'm like, wait a second, I forgot they were in this game. I'm gonna select them. They probably put a ton of effort into, like, the costumes and all of that, so they wanted to make the costume characters their own separate character slot. Sure. But I mean, overall, I think the character selection is just really fun. It's just really damn fun. I love picking a new random character every time. I just, like, I think this is one of my favorite Mario Kart character rosters. But is this one of my favorite Mario Kart games at this point? Here's the thing, okay? Like, I think I went over the majority of this game, and I definitely complained a lot, but I think the complaints I have with Mario Kart World honestly sound like they overpower the entire experience. No, they don't. Here's the thing. Like, a lot of my complaints with this game kind of just boil down to the fact that it is a different take on Mario Kart, but it still is Mario Kart. So I feel like a lot of these things are just kind of like weird design decisions that can be fixed, or can be mitigated with updates and DLC, all of that stuff. You know, I honestly feel like the track selection in this game, while it is solid, it does the trick, I do feel like it is a bit weaker than something like Mario Kart 8. And I'm even just talking about Mario Kart 8's base package on Wii U. I honestly feel like Mario Kart 8's base roster of tracks is one of the strongest in the series. Like, I don't think there's a single bad track in that initial 32-track lineup. Now, of course, I don't think there's a track in this game that's bad, per se, but I think, like, a lot of the tracks, in my opinion, are just kind of forgettable. But a lot of the weird design decisions in Mario Kart World are not deal breakers, in my opinion. They're just kind of weird, and it honestly makes this game a little more fun to discuss at this point. I'm not, like, upset at this game. But I see this as a great starting point. And as it stands, like, is it worth the price of admission? Well, firstly, I'm not really sure if any game is truly worth 80 full US dollars. But also, to everybody that's complaining about this, let's be honest, I don't think a lot of us paid $80 for this. I think most people spent $50 on this game getting the Switch 2 bundle with Mario Kart World. Of course, I spent even more money on this game because I'm an idiot who bought a physical copy in addition to the digital download bundle. But that's just so then I can talk about this game and flail it around in front of my carpet as I talk about it. But is this game worth $80? No, I don't think many games are worth $80. I feel like there's only a couple of games that are probably worth like an $80 price tag. I'd say like one of the only games that Nintendo publishes that would potentially be worth $80 would probably be like a Smash Brothers. And yeah, I don't really feel like Mario Kart World has a comparable amount of content to a Smash Brothers. But I think this is a damn good game. The amount of music tracks in this game alone, if this was released as like a multi-record vinyl deluxe set, that would probably be worth $80. Because what, it would probably take like 50 full records to fit this whole soundtrack on it. There's like 400 tracks in this game. They went absolutely fucking crazy with this. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like they had so much time and a huge budget because Mario Kart has become Nintendo's biggest franchise. They were like, let's just remix like hundreds of Mario tracks. And yeah, it's incredible. One of my favorite things to do right now is play like a shuffled playlist on YouTube of like the Mario Kart World soundtrack. While I'm driving in the car, and I try to guess within the first couple of seconds, what is this a cover of? See if I can guess the Mario track it's remixing. And sometimes I'm really damn good, and then other times I'm an embarrassment to my kind. Because some of these remixes are honestly kind of hard to figure out. Like they go crazy with them. They kind of transform a lot of these tracks into kind of like completely new things. I mean, the electronic remix of Baby Park from Double Dash, like they just do so much stuff with the music that like I just didn't ever expect to hear. Now, like everybody else says, I think it would be nice if there was kind of like a jukebox option in the game where you can go through all the different music. Maybe you can create your own playlists or something. But I do like how the music is kind of contextual to where you are. I mean, most of the time it kind of plays a random track, but a lot of the time I can tell that they have certain songs more likely to play in certain kind of terrains in the open world. And that's just the thing, man. I mean, like they could tell that this world needed like a lot of oomph to it. And I think a lot of that effort honestly went to the music instead of like the world itself, which is still like an incredible open world, but it just feels like there's just a little something missing from it. There's also the battle mode. I haven't really had a chance to try it out at all. You know, I've looked up footage of it and I've seen people play it. And it initially looks like, oh great, we're doing Mario Kart 8 again on Wii U, where like the battle tracks are created out of like pre-existing race courses. But when you actually look at the battle track map layouts, it's obvious that they just take the theme from a lot of different race courses, and then they actually design a full-blown battle track out of that. I still don't think it's ideal, but, you know, hey, it's tolerable. It does the job, but that's just the thing. Battle mode is kind of more of an obligation for Nintendo at this point, rather than, like, a big focus. The only reason why it was a big focus in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was because it was the only major focus. They just kind of ported the game over as is, and then they were like, all right, well, let's just use this development time to focus on making the battle mode much better, because that was our main complaint from the Wii U version. So that was my incredibly messy rambling on my thoughts on Mario Kart World, and I feel like it kind of hit hard a lot of the complaints that I have. But, you know, let me reiterate for the billionth time, because again, this was a very messy rambling on my thoughts. None of these complaints are deal breakers to me. Honestly, for the most part, a lot of them are just kind of funny. Like, it's just like, what the hell were they thinking with that? It's not like the worst thing in the world. It's just kind of like, well, that's kind of weird. But I really love Mario Kart World. I'm not sure if it's going to be my favorite Mario Kart, but I just respect the hell out of them for just doing something very different with Mario Kart. You know, that's what I was thinking that needed to happen after Mario Kart 8, because Mario Kart 8 was a fantastic Mario Kart game, but it was structured just like any other Mario Kart game. And that's what developers were saying in interviews for Mario Kart World. Like, if this was just a standard, like, oh, it's a new Mario Kart and there's 32 brand new tracks, and that's it, you access them through a menu, it would have probably just been Mario Kart 9. But no, especially when the Nintendo Switch 2 is backwards compatible with Nintendo Switch 1 games, and you have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe there, and you can play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe whenever you want, and there's 96 courses overall. Yeah, I think they needed to do something a bit unique and different. And Mario Kart World, it's still Mario Kart, but I really love that they took a chance and they tried something new. And for the most part, I do think it succeeds. While I do feel like the open world could have been bigger, you could have had more tracks in there, you could have had more things to do, you could have had more unlockables and just things to discover, much like a Breath of the Wild or something like that. I do think the open world of Mario Kart World, the joy about it is a lot more about just like being able to drive from one track to another and seeing everything in between. You know, that kind of just satiates this childlike wonder in my heart of just like wanting all of these things to just be interconnected and just explore a world, even if it does feel a bit empty at times. Like, I remember in Mario Kart World going in free roam, there was a mission where, you know, I had to traverse on top of a plane a bit and just kind of like get on top of this one building to complete a P-switch mission. Then when I got to the top of the building, I'm like, man, this is so cool. I'm at the top of this giant building that you probably just can only see in the distance while you're like on the Crown City track. Like, this is really cool. Now, of course, like, what was there to do up there? Jack Dick. But it was still cool, and I think that's kind of the sentiment for the entirety of Mario Kart World. But I think that just nails my overall thoughts on the open world in Mario Kart World. Damn, this is cool! I wish there was a little more to do in it, though, because I want there to be more of an incentive to explore and just check everything out, other than, you know, hey, I love Mario Kart and I really enjoyed this game, and it is cool to see every nook and cranny of this world, but I just wish the game would give me an actual tangible incentive to do so. Even though I do really like the P-switch missions, I do like exploring, there is a core here that I really love. But I'm just interested to see how they add on top of it, because you can't deny this game is going to get DLC. Who knows? It could be some weird-ass Tears of the Kingdom situation where, like, Breath of the Wild got DLC. They had, like, the expansion pass announced, like, before that game launched, and that was, like, such an odd thing for Nintendo to do at the time. And then after Mario Kart 8 got all this DLC, who knows? This could be the exact same situation where, for some reason, Nintendo's like, no, we don't have DLC planned. But a developer did say in an interview that, like, hey, 200cc isn't in the game, but, you know, I'm not ruling out the possibility. We might add it in an update. So it's obvious updates and DLC are on the developers' minds. Now, I do think it's going to be very interesting to see how they go about that, because with this being like a whole interconnected world, you pretty much have to add an entirely brand new region to the map. And that's definitely possible, but I do think that's going to make DLC a lot harder to do in Mario Kart World than it was in Mario Kart 8. And I'm a little worried we're just not really going to get a ton of it. Like, I honestly think Mario Kart World could be this huge experience, almost like a Fortnite type experience where it just keeps on getting added to. Because you could do more. Mario Kart World is big, but it doesn't feel, like, daunting. And I think that's mainly because, like, yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds of P-switch missions, and for some ungodly reason, they don't, like, give you a way to track them on the map. I don't understand why. But that's the thing. It's almost like the game is telling you, don't worry about this. Don't worry about these things. Just play whatever you want. We don't care. So I just see like an experience that you could just keep adding stuff to. Add a new region. Add new characters. Add a new mode. You can do so much with this. Hell, Knockout Tour is probably this game's crowning jewel of a mode. Like, that is incredible. I love Knockout Tour. It is so much fun, but there is no actual reason why there should only be like so many tours to go on. There's, what, 200 plus routes in the game? Yeah, just straight up, you can mix and match like a billion different courses together. You could have like an infinite amount of knockout tours you could do. Or hell, just let the user create their own custom knockout tour. There's so much potential with the package here. I'm very happy with Mario Kart World, but I do think there is a lot of work and a lot of things they could do to this game. Overall, I'd say it's an upgrade from Mario Kart 8 in many ways, but at the same time, I do think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still has its place as just like a good Mario Kart to play. I feel like if you just want to sit down and play Mario Kart with some friends, I feel like that's still the best option because it's just easy to jump into. You don't have to worry about anything. Mario Kart World is honestly a lot more about the experience, a lot more about just like exploring. It's definitely a bit slower paced in some areas. But you know what? That's okay. We've had Mario Kart 8 for 10 plus years. And I honestly think Mario Kart 8 was kind of like the traditional Mario Kart formula perfected, especially with all the content in that game. So for them to try something new and to do it so well and to have so much love and detail poured into it, I'm really happy with this game. And with consistent updates and attention, and they just keep on listening to fan feedback, I think this could become better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I think it could be the best Mario Kart game and my favorite Mario Kart game. But that's probably not gonna happen. This is Nintendo. They're gonna add one costume for Toadette and that's it. They're gonna be like, we're done with DLC. F*** you.